Alright, let's get going. First, okay, there it is. We've got a bulky package here. Which I'm not sure why. But, okay, I guess I got everything out. And then we have Right Stuff package. I think that should be enough. I don't think there's anything else. I'm not seeing anything else. So why don't we begin with these two things? This is box sets 1 and 2, the new Rurouni Kenshin. I guess it would be Rurouni Kenshin 2023, 2024. Does it actually say anywhere on here? Am I feeling the opening right? I'm trying to figure out how to open this. I'm not quite sure. There we go. So I think interesting. So it doesn't. Okay, it does say 1. I'm saying it doesn't say 1 on. This kind of adds it to the bottom. So what can I say about this? English dub, Japanese dub. So it's 1 through 12. It says compact disc, so that means it probably comes with audio as well. Soundtrack. Let's see. I think we looked at the box enough. We'll go from bottom to top. So first we have Key Animation Volume 1. Some nice samples of key animation stuff. Then we have, I can't read that, that's pretty small. Series Reference Collection Volume 1. Okay, I see, oh, a little bit, but I do see characters there. It looked like there were some places. Attention. Oh, look, this looks like it's a guide of the episodes. 11, 12. And then here we have the, oh, more stuff inside. They look like they're maybe stickers. I don't think I'm going to open that though. That feels a little fragile. I see a Blu-ray and I see a 1. And the 2. Okay, interesting. And then the 3. And a compact disc. Original soundtrack CD Volume 1. Cool. Okay, yeah, the gun. And that guy. Interesting. This is... It doesn't feel like a common presentation. Uh-oh. I just sealed that and I forgot to put the, probably stickers back in here. There we go. Now let's open up Volume 2. So the interesting thing is the DVDs, or rather the Blu-rays are labeled 1, 2, and 3 with a red triangle for 1. But the blue triangle for 2 is consistent with this fella. Here it is. I don't know what to look for. There we go. Excuse me. I don't think we'd expect anything new here, but let's see if we can find the episode list, episodes 13 through 24. Cool. And I expect the contents of this to be kind of similar. You know, I'll just do it like that so I can flip them over. Because this is the Key Animation Collection Volume 2. Let's do that a little bit slower. Actually, some of that stuff is neat. This is more serious animation reference. Yeah, I recognize some more of those characters. Well, I don't know if I recognize the characters themselves, but there's episode guide stuff. Well, maybe this was the page 24. Yeah, I felt like I missed a page on the other one. It would be soundtrack information, credits. Okay, cool. And then if we go into this proper, got more Navy stickers. And that's volume 1. Although interesting, the one this time is blue. Huh. I guess they can artistically do things that way, can't they? Oh yeah. The 2 is green. This 3 is a different kind of blue. Soundtrack Volume 2. Intriguing. This time I remember to put that back in there. Okay, we have Naruto Shippuden Blu-ray Set 5, including exclusive art card. Let's get the plastic off first. Some interesting stickers on the outside there. I'm just going to put that there. Region A only. I do feel plastic on this. I guess I'm just not tossing them down on the ground this time. I'm trying to think if it even... I mean, this is Viz, English and Japanese audio. Oh, does this also say which episodes? 27 episodes, 111 through 137. So, loose disc. It's supposed to be that one. All the discs are loose. Before we get too much deeper, let's take a look in here. Okay, this is the card, okay. So that's the art. I mean, some of this advertisement feels like it's different than usual slightly, but I don't know. I want to get all these discs back in. That one's not, huh? So there's a disc 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here we have Banished from the Heroes Party, Season 2. Party 2. I guess it only just says 2. Interesting. Regions A and B. English and Japanese audio. Feels a little thick. Different underneath the slipcover, which is nice. I wonder where Season 1 is. I'm looking off to the side where I think Season 1 might be. If it's not there, it's not there. guess I'm putting them up here today. Okay. Feels like it's not completely slipped in there right. So let's gently nudge it. And here's our cards. And you can see some nice art in there. A little easier to see through the camera. Let's see. Do want to be careful about that. If you're not careful, you can not only give yourself a paper cut, but if it could be a paper cut underneath the nail, and that's very painful. It seems pretty tightly on there. I guess I'm not going to worry about it. I'm curious, but Blu-ray disc 1, Blu-ray disc 2, and a lot of these things do not want to go back into the things. And this is a DVD disc 1 and a DVD disc 2. Upside down, but yeah. EM rated EM. Does feel a little thick. Also, like it did not close correctly there. Oh well. Level 99 Villainess. This was a fun one. I see a region AB, so this is importable. Audio. Japanese with English subtitles. Which is fine. I couldn't remember if this got a dub or not, but I thought it was pretty fun. Even going back and rewatching it had fun stuff in it. Surprisingly, fun stuff sprinkled throughout the series. Feels like it's not lined up correctly, but nice and straightforward. Disc 1, Disc 2. In some angles down there it was looking like it wasn't printed very well, but I think it's fine. It was just a strange illusion. Oh well, and last but not least, The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, Season 1. And I thought this one was actually pretty good. Different underneath the slipcover, always good, always good. In particular, well, I thought that from a story flow perspective, there were things about it that weren't quite perfect. I thought it was still fine. It actually had some really touching moments, especially at the end. Come on. Probably get now. Oh, I forgot to check the regions A and B. Looks like, oh, it's got Japanese and English audio. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's consistent with the other things that had 2 discs. I guess I was feeling like this would have more discs, but if it's Blu-ray only, this makes sense. 13 episodes, bonus features. Two different pictures, but overall, very fun stuff. Alright, well, it's good that there's a good release at the beginning of this year, even if it took half a month to get here. Here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, let's see if I can go through this part fast. Free rent, so rewatching it with my Friday friend, English dub. We actually powered through, and instead of my previous plan, I think I mentioned last week, we watched 7 episodes. I think this restaurant, it helps that maybe there's not as much waiting or socializing or something like that. So we managed to watch episodes 22 through 28. Again, dubbed. I still prefer the original Japanese audio, but dub's okay, I guess, at least at this point. And Yeah. I think it's a fun ending, the kind of thing where you're like, okay, I would definitely like to watch more, but what's out is out. Hopefully we get more. If we don't, I guess that would just be the usual anime, the way anime works. But fun stuff. Bogus Skill Fruit Master, episode 3. Okay, yeah, I guess things happen. They're okay, kind of fun, entertaining, I guess. I think the real problem with the show is the fundamental premise would make you think, I don't know, it should be something that's like, there should be, our main character should have a deluge of skills, and if there's anything I'd say is off with this setup, it's like, okay, the fundamental premise sounds fine, but they had him accidentally eat a second skill fruit, okay, and normally that kills people, but his first power makes it where it doesn't kill him, so instead he gets another skill. Okay, that sounds good. So he should probably be like munching on them and then getting a lot of skills, and then the show should be about how entertaining it is that he has all these skills and how he does things differently than everybody else. But instead, you know, the second skill he got was literally like Sword God or something like that. It's like, it feels like it's leaning hard on that a little harder than I feel like it should, and I don't know that it necessarily feels coherent, but you know, I guess it's kind of fun, but I'm not sure if it's as fun as it would be if it was going by its fundamental premise, as it seemed to introduce itself to us. But okay, episode 3, make of that what you will. Let's see. Possibly the Greatest Alchemist, episode 3. So yeah, I was having trouble last week remembering what happened in episode 2, especially where it was going at the very end. And watching episode 3 is like, oh yeah, and that was kind of a fun setup. And this episode was really all about that. And I think it was a nice point. I don't know if it makes a good 3-episode point. It's really hard to say because it seems fun enough, a nice show. I'm gonna give the next episode a watch for sure, but yeah. Let's see. Doctor Detective episode 4 apparently didn't air, which is good because, like I said, I'm not sure if I'll be continuing to watch that or not. I might if I feel like I have the time and it doesn't feel like it's burdensome. But yeah, we'll have to see next week. Or rather, well, yeah, my update next week. So, Magic Maker, How to Make Magic in Another World, episode 2. You know, unfortunately, it switched to the main character's perspective. You know, the sister, I thought was just a really neat aspect of the first episode, given its weird stuff. And I thought it got over some of that pretty fine here. It was just a slight awkwardness to the first episode, I guess. But, yeah. Seemed to get better, I guess. Let's see, they started just establishing some of that stuff, and that's what it ended with at the very end, so, yeah, okay. Entertaining enough. Daily Life of a Middle-Aged Online Shopper in Another World, episode 2. I would say this was a good episode for the show. In particular, obviously the first thing you have to compare it to is another one where we had a campfire cooking in Another World, which, you know, our main character can purchase stuff from there. But he hasn't only purchased food, but because he's also purchased some cooking-related instruments. But this one, it's like, I think what's good about this episode is it really differentiates itself from that. Like, campfire cooking in Another World is pretty much two things, and one of those is what you would expect from a medieval fantasy isekai, which is, yeah, he becomes an adventurer and he goes on adventures, and it's kind of about his adventuring lifestyle, but, you know, it's also about the cooking element and how much all this food preparation and characters enjoying it, and us in the real world saying, that seems like it would be nice to taste. If he cooked for me every day, I would probably have to make sure he's well taken care of. Something like that. I don't know. But in this one, he's spending episode 2 actually building out a life. So, like, there's very confusing things about it where it's like you can really purchase a used backhoe, but problems he has to solve involves, okay, yeah, he just doesn't want to use a shovel to dig all the tree stumps up out of the yard. Yeah, that makes sense. And also, I guess how to fuel it, because it's following rules that I think might make a little more sense in Japan. I think they may actually make sense here. If you had the ability to shop on Amazon, you probably wouldn't be able to, for example, buy a container of gasoline through Amazon. In fact, I'd be pretty surprised if you could buy a backhoe through Amazon. So I think there's something slightly different going on here, but some of the rules make sense where it's like, okay, well, can I get this? No, maybe I'd have to do this instead. Can I get this? Well, no, I'd have to do this. And he's like, okay, but the problem is if that doesn't work, so I should test this. So there's some problem solving there, with the goal of him being to sort of be a self-made man, not necessarily an adventurer per se. I'm trying to remember if... No, he was part of the Merchants Guild. But he's also not like, oh, I'm going to... I don't know. Basically, I thought it was a good episode 2, and I was interested in seeing the next episode. Then we have Dr. Stone's Science Future, Season 4, Episode 2. I'm trying to remember... I remember drinks. Lots of drinks, and entertaining enough, I think, and a good setup for the next episode. I'm not sure what else I have to say. Bureaucrat to Villainous, Episode 2. I thought it was fun. For me, it feels like this is a show that is at risk of using up, I guess, what feels fun about it. And I don't think Episode 2 has done that yet. So, with any luck, this is entirely going to be a good season, and as it keeps going, I do think it introduced a funny thing where it's not just I guess it's not just one track. So, like, I think if there's one thing this episode did, it gave us that it gave us that other characters are also appreciating him. It's like showing up the characters leveling up their appreciation of him, their affection for him, maybe even. And it's not showing us that I don't know. I guess it's not just like a completely one-sided. So it's a neat thing. And, you know, they also explain their magic system in a way, and it's like, okay, there's a little bit of convenience to that. That's convenient for our main character, but it's fun enough. Fun enough. So, yeah, a good episode 2. Let me see. Even given the worthless appraisal class, I'm actually the strongest episode 2. Not as mean-spirited as the first one, so better in that regard. But I did not really like the mother person. She's a bit of a... Yeah, I didn't like her. I thought her attitude was pretty bad. Even if you try to justify it, she just seems like a very bad person to me. But at least episode 2 kind of showed, oh, alright, there's some promise for seeing what happens after this. I guess we'll just have to see, because I think the title of the third episode maybe implies that we'll actually get to see him encounter those people from the first episode, and maybe we'll see a about face or something like that. I don't know. But overall, you know, better, I would say. You know, episode 1 I said was a little too extreme in the make me angry department. But yeah, this one was better. Anyways, Dragon Ball Daima, episode 14. Which I think was better. But maybe only a little bit better, I guess. It pretty much established what from the previous episode I guess, was going to be, I guess, the part of the previous episode that was actually relevant to the story, how that was handled, and the way going forward, and kind of set up for where it's going, but it at least felt like it was actually setting things up. Almost feel like it's setting up what was happening in the opening credits. So, yeah. I'd say it's a better episode, but the previous episode was a little too whimsy and didn't feel completely relevant enough. So, yeah. Let me see. Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf, episode 2. I think that was pretty fun episode. Let me see. This one is, you definitely want her to see more of Japan, and I think they show that. But then they also established some of the rules of what's going to be happening going forward. And so far, it's continuing to just be nice. Ubil Blot, episode 2. It's okay, I guess. I guess my biggest problem is I feel like watching it, like, I don't feel like I have a strong narrative structure. Like, it felt like it had some flashbacks in there, and I guess I was able to put them together, keep them together, but at the same time, I didn't feel like they were keeping me there telling the story. It kind of reminds me of how Star Wars A New Hope was originally edited. Like, it feels like some of the scenes are there, but do these feel like they lead naturally from the one to the other? Are they informing things to us in the right way? And so it's okay. I just not sure if I feel the story structure there like I would want to. Might just be a me thing. Guild Receptionist Solo Any Boss, episode 2. We had that. Okay, yeah. So far, it's staying pretty fun with the fundamental premise and not feeling like a repeating joke. So off to a good start. I think we'll have to see what episode 3 brings us, because it may give us hints as to what this show is planning to be like long term. But yeah, fun stuff. Beheneko, episode 4. Let me see. Episode 3 ended on that cliffhanger. Episode 4 resolved it and had a lot of stuff that was kind of the end results of some of that. And it's okay. I don't feel like it's main story. It's more like building up the main character's harem. And it's okay. But maybe not as exciting story-wise, I guess. Not that I expected this one to be too exciting story-wise from the beginning, but that's just the observation. Solo Leveling, Season 2, Episode 13. Okay, I appreciate the fact that the main character went to a place, it's like, there's 100 levels in here, and it didn't feel like it wasted time, because if there's one thing I would have felt really dejected, it's like, oh, is this going to show him having to go through 100 levels, and that just takes the rest of the series? Because sometimes it feels like shows do that. But no, I felt like this one had a theme, did some stuff, and the stuff that happened on the outside was a little, outside of our main character, was a little more interesting of a setup. Kind of makes me want to go back and see what the first episode might have said, because it might have said some details that I think may be relevant now. Pretty fun, I guess. So, good for that. I left my A-rank party to help my former students, episode 2. Fun. I think there's still the problem where he's like, oh, yes. His students were all sexy girls, and now he's kind of got his own personal harem, and they had that other thing set up with that guy who was like, is that guy some sort of noble who just wants to buy women? Because I guess it looked like he felt entitled to them, but at the same time, the way he went about did it is not very noble-like. It's more like another adventure. So I guess I don't know what's up with that, and it's convenient, but at the same time, our main character doing his main character stuff was entertaining enough. And I don't think they dealt with the main problem that had been established in the episode that they might be going up. I'm pretty sure they didn't finish it. So we'll have to see what episode 3 brings, but, fine enough. I Want to Escape from Princess Lessons, episode 3. So I gave it 3 episodes, and I think I'm going to drop it. My main problem is I really fucking hate the prince. Like, he seems like a nice enough guy, but at the end of the day, he's still essentially kidnapping a lady and locking her in a room. And the show kind of tries to make light of it as if it's just a, a whimsical romance sort of thing. But it doesn't change the fact that I don't really like what he's doing. And I was barely tolerating it as a concept in the first episode because it was just like society in general is doing this. But at this point, it feels like it's just his personal thing. And this doesn't feel any different than a show where, some rich, noble figure. It's like, well, I'm going to make sure this lady becomes my wife. So I'm going to grab her, and he has the permission of her parents. But at this point, he talks to her as if he wants to understand her, but he doesn't. And it's not as bad and creepy as some of those other things, but I can't help but think that most of that is the show's just trying to draw him as looking that and trying to make it seem romantic and playing whimsical music instead of horrifying music. But I just can't get around the fact that she was more interesting, albeit the show was a bit on the nose with some of the stuff, with having everything in town talking to her. That's every person and every animal. And there was a funny scene here where all the animals were responding to her thing and she was surrounded by all the animals. So it's got its amusing things. Some of her interactions are amusing. She's not the 7th time loop levels of princess. There's some parts of me that's like, oh, I wish she was. But no, she was a noble lady who went through princess lessons, and he's promised they're not happening, which, as of episode 3, it's like, oh, okay, well, sounds like the show's resolved its main thing. Except, of course, again, he's got to make sure she can't run away because she wants to run away, so he literally locks her in a room. And maybe fancily decored, and she's waited on with a personal maid and all that stuff, but it's still just a really fancy prison. And I guess I don't agree with the show's not portraying it that way. I mean, even if it was, I don't know if I want to see how she escapes, because I don't think she should be there. I think there should be a small nuke dropped on a kingdom to kind of get rid of them, which may be unfortunate for or inappropriate for all of the people that have nothing to do with that. Just the prince's whim, but I guess the trigger point there is our main character's autonomy is being severely limited, and not in an, oh, she's decided to go with this way like first episode kind of established, but instead just literally taking it from them, and those can be pretty frustrating. Oh well, I digress. Zenshu, episode 3. I think a fun episode. Introduced another important character, relationship stuff, setting stuff up. And I like that episode 3 is already addressing the fact that, okay, she just did 2 things that would have radically changed the story. So, what does that mean? What does her knowledge mean? And it's entertaining the way it goes down. And I appreciate the fact that it isn't a show that's designed around humiliating her constantly, because that would just be unwatchable. So, fun stuff. Red Ranger in Another World, episode 2. I think that was okay. Maybe revealing some of the stuff that they're doing in the next episode, so that they're still building something. I think for the most part, it's okay. It feels like the isekai elements are being interrupted with the Power Ranger. I know that's not the right word, but I'm blanking. Is it Sentai? Or is that the Sailor Moon stuff? God, I'm blanking. I feel like it's interrupting that, and I feel like it's appropriate in the way it's doing it, and it's at least a little entertaining. But I guess we'll just have to see if I continue feeling entertained. Most likely, I will watch episode 3 just to give it the 3-episode attempt. Yeah. So Ari Fureta, season 3, episode 12. finally aired, and I'd say it was actually a pretty nice episode. I'm trying to think what to say about it, but it is developing important things for both our main character and another character that's kind of along the lines of what we would expect. But it went into a much more workable depth than I guess I would have said I originally thought it might. So, good episode. Nice to see it back. Head on into another world. Episode 4. Let's see, that's everything that happened. An entertaining enough episode, I would think. It continuing to just be pretty entertaining for its fundamental premise, playing with it pretty well, I would say. And then, last but not least, I'm Noble on the Brink of Ruin, episode 4. Let's see, we had that. Seems fine. I guess if there's one thing I'm blanking on is it feels like it's still building stuff up, and I guess I just don't know what it's building to. But it seems entertaining enough. I think it feels like it may be very comparable to In Another World with my smartphone to a certain degree. Like, if it does end up having a big story, maybe it's something that just builds up later, but, you know, it's having fun with its initial stuff. And I think I felt like Smartphone Season 1 was more entertaining at this point than this one, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't think that's a very objective measurement, as in, like, I could see people going one way or the other. Or maybe even saying that my comparison is, like, stupid. But, you know, fun stuff. Alright. Anything else worth talking about? I haven't been playing as much DVD as I really should. There's Chaos Shuffle going on right now, and a Chaos Shuffle tome, and maybe I should get the banner and badge and charm or something that come with it. It's, I don't know, I guess I just did not feel that motivation. Maybe I really should just do it, sit down and play. I guess one of the things that slowed me down, so Animal Crossing, you know, that was nice. Like I mentioned, I finally got my 3rd island of 5 stars, and at this point, I really just feel like taking care of it for a bit, because I want that chance of getting more Lilies of the Valley. Which does encourage me to also take care of my first 2 islands, because, you know, that's 3 islands producing Lilies of the Valley, which could eventually replace all the flowers with those, so that then I feel comfortable testing out other things, I guess. Testing out other things, I guess. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out once I get there, but the point is, you know, that's the kind of energy I'm in. Animal Crossing is not a very high energy game. I did play some Pokemon because I guess I realized, oh, there was the Flamigo shiny chance, so I got one of those, and I'm going back to the League Room in the Blueberry Academy to try and get the last few things I haven't traded for. I'm not going to try too hard at that. That's just what I'm doing. I guess a lot of my energy this weekend ended up being directed to Slay the Princess. In particular, so when I played through it, obviously you should play through it the first time without any guides, because the game is very well suited for that. Very well suited for you saying, let me try this. Oh, that's not what I expected. Oh, let me try this. Oh, that's not what I expected. And then when you get to the point where you want to 100%, that's when you start looking at online resources saying, hey, how do I find this gallery item? How do I get to this chapter, etc., etc., etc. And for that, you know, I got resources from all across the internet, a lot of them from different Reddit posts. There was one Reddit post that had discussions on how to go to the various routes, but that one was made before the pristine cut. Doesn't have that stuff. And some of the other information was just spread all over the place. You can find it in the wiki, but you can't really put it in one graphical image to look at it like you can on the wiki. So I went ahead and I've just been building up something that's a route guide of sorts, which contains information that allows me to reference for the pristine cut. Okay, the other route thing said to do this. that doesn't quite work. It doesn't tell me pristine cut. It doesn't tell me, okay, if I want to get here, how do I get there from other different ways? Not an as direct a method. This one allows me to see my destination and figure out how I would want to try to get there. And started adding notes, especially hints as to getting one of the new endings. Other ending notes, some notes on, okay, I thought this gallery was kind of obscure. I see other people saw this gallery item was kind of obscure. I'll add hints in there for those. And overall, you know, I'm not sure that's necessarily done, but I've at least, I was kind of finishing that up over the weekend. In fact, I finished it up today. Speaking of today, it's a Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so no, I guess there's no direction on what to do there, but I think it's always just a good idea to remember what the man wanted and say, hey, can I get us closer to that world personally? And the personal part is important there. I'm not a religious person, but, you know, that doesn't mean that sometimes there's not things you can get interesting inspiration from. There's a God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Like, as a non-religious person, my only problem with that is you shouldn't be asking that of God. I mean, I think the idea there is you're asking a higher power, whether you find that higher power in yourself or external or something. The important thing is to realize what you can change, and I think from Martin Luther King Jr.'s perspective and his speech, you know, you can't really change other people. In theory, you could probably do some sort of horrible social eugenics program to get rid of everybody and everything that's wrong. Chances are, if you're doing that, you're doing the wrong thing. But putting that aside, fundamentally, without going some bonkers route like that, you can change yourself. You can't change other people. You need to recognize that. That's the long short of it. So it basically means take a look at that and say, judge people on the merit of their character. Which I feel like I've done through my life. I even have things that I would say quantify as beliefs that I don't think people in my life would actually agree with, but I don't apply it to them. Because there's just no point in applying to it. Partially because I realize, even if I realize that, there wouldn't be anything I could really do about it. For example, and this one is a little more tame and things like that. There was one time I was pulling into a parking lot in order to park and pick up pizza. That came off the tongue really funny. But the point is, a delivery driver working there was tailgating me rather rudely into the parking lot. Like, I couldn't go too fast because it's a parking lot, but he was riding my ass. Now, I don't think he should be, like, rushing around corners and following people inches on the bumper, etc., etc. That didn't change the fact that nothing happened, and while I could maybe campaign to have people do the right thing more often or something like that, that's also possible. I'm partially wrong. The more important thing is I just need to go inside and order pizza like I normally would and not make it a deal. And that's, I think, some of the idea is, even if you have these ideas, you need to make sure you're acknowledging you have them and that they're not clouding your judgment doing stuff. At the end of the day, make sure you make a decision that even if you're wrong, you can feel like, all right, I was wrong, but because of this, this, and this, I'm not embarrassed about the way I acted. I don't know. Maybe I'm blabbering on too much. And I get angry about fake stories on the internet here and there. So maybe that's stuff where it's like, why would you get angry? It's not real. But more fun things. Video games. Route Map of Slay the Princess. I think it's a great game. I'm not sure if I can really tell you why. I think I'm at the point where I'm blabbering. I see it's close to midnight. It's snowed here, so I'm not going to try to drive into work tomorrow morning. So, yeah. Y'all, stay careful out there, because I think it's cold winter weather all across the states. And for people not in the States. Hopefully y'all are handling yourselves well. Stay warm. Have a nice evening.